There are places you won't find on standard tourist maps, but once you stand there, it feels like they've lived in your dreams all along. There are nameless, windswept paths along the wild Atlantic Way that don't show up on GPS, but to the locals, they are the very soul of the land. And there are ancient lives quietly unfolding on the rugged shores of the Aran Islands, keeping stories that no one tells until now. I started this journey looking for silence, but each step took me deeper into a living legend than I could ever imagine. At the cliffs of Moher and Slieve League, I watched the edge of the world plunge into the roaring Atlantic, wrapped in mist like a forgotten kingdom. At Skellig Michael, I climbed hundreds of ancient stone steps just to find a sacred sanctuary suspended in the clouds where heaven and earth collide. And in the quiet valleys of Connemara and Killarney National Park, I didn't just see nature, I heard it breathe. This is not the postcard image you've seen in mainstream travel ads. This is a different world, raw, sacred, and so real, it leaves you speechless. Walk with me through the narrow pass of the Gap of Dunlow, along the dramatic cliffs of Marlin Head, and you'll see life on these edges was never just scenery. It is the heartbeat of the wild. Cliffs of Moher, enduring and elemental, these jagged walls carve a boundary between wild Atlantic waves and the quiet green heart of Ireland. From the wind-swept fields of County Clare, the cliffs rise almost 700 feet, or just over 200 meters, their sheer faces veined with earth tones and topped by dancing seabirds. From ancient sandstone and shale, the cliffs have stood for more than 300 million years, once lying silent beneath a primal sea, before battered time reshaped them into Ireland's natural bastion. Up here, with salty air mingling with distant echoes of old ballads, visitors often find themselves both awed and hushed, as if the landscape itself asks for reverence. Fierce storms have carved solitude into the rock, yet on calmer days the sun warms their grassy crowns, quietly linking danger and peace. In places where the land ends so abruptly, we sense how every edge might also be a threshold to something vast, waiting just beyond our view.
Giant's Causeway, a natural puzzle of volcanic stone. The Giant's Causeway invites us to wonder at a landscape shaped by ancient fire and mythic imagination. Along the rugged coastline of County Antrim in Northern Ireland, hexagonal basalt columns, some rising nearly 40 feet, or about 12 meters, stretch out in ranks toward the cold, restless sea, their surfaces slick with salt spray and echoing with the distant calls of seabirds. Formed by volcanic eruptions nearly 60 million years ago, this UNESCO World Heritage Site has inspired both scientific fascination and enduring Irish legends, including tales of giants striding across the water. Standing here, the wind brushing your face, awe mingles with the soft comfort of folklore, a reminder that nature often weaves fact and fable together. The columns seem both eternal and fleeting, caught between the patience of geology and the fleeting stories of generations. In places like this, we glimpse how landscapes can shape both cultures and dreams far beyond their ancient shores.
Skellig Michael, rising defiantly from the cold waters of the Atlantic, this lonely rock speaks of both isolation and sacred purpose. Off the wild southwestern coast of County Kerry, Ireland, grey stone steps spiral steeply upward, flanked by sheer cliffs and the distant thunder of the sea as seabirds wheel through salt-laden air. Over 1,000 years ago, monks seeking closeness to the divine carved a monastery atop the summit, building beehive huts from stone more than 600 feet above the waves, or nearly 200 meters, surviving winters that stripped the land bare. It is a place where determination and faith shaped ordinary lives into legend, and where each battered wall still suggests quiet resilience. Here, serenity coexists with raw elemental power, the gentleness of prayer meeting the ferocity of the ocean. Skellig Michael endures as a remote sanctuary, its mysteries drawing us to reflect on what we seek at the edge of the known world. Rock of Cashel sits above the Golden Vale, where the greens of County Tipperary hold their colour through frequent rain and mild Atlantic air. The land below is stitched with hedgerows and small fields. In Rock of Cashel, County Tipperary, Ireland, daily life moves at farm pace, shaped by grass growth and daylight. Dairy herds and sheep make steady use of slopes that never stay brown for long. Along narrow roads, stone walls and clipped lanes funnel wind and water toward ditches and streams. People plan around weather that changes by the hour, keeping boots by the door and tarps close at hand. Cashel Town nearby offers schools, shops, and a few quiet pubs, while many residents commute to larger centres within Ireland for work. Visitors come for the view, but locals measure seasons by silage cuts and lambing. Home gardens favour hardy plants, cabbage, rhubarb, and herbs that tolerate damp soil and soft light. On clear evenings, the patchwork of pasture looks almost luminous, even without strong sun. The most distinctive feature is the compact crown of roofless medieval stone buildings, cathedral, round tower, and chapels set tightly on a limestone outcrop, their pale walls holding the last light over the fields. Keem Bay sits at the end of a narrow road on Achill Island, where Atlantic air keeps the landscape clean and sharply detailed. In Keem Bay, County Mayo, Ireland, daily life moves with wind forecasts, school runs, and the small errands that link scattered homes to the village shops. Fields here are stitched together with stone walls, and sheep graze on tough grasses that tolerate salt and rain. Even the hedges look shaped by months of steady weather, not by a single storm. People make the most of short growing seasons, tending gardens in sheltered corners and cutting back growth to protect paths and drains. On calmer days, the bay becomes a workplace again, boats checked, lines sorted, and gear dried in the open air. Walkers arrive for the headland views above Keem, following old tracks across heather and peat, then dropping down toward the water. Locals know when to keep moving and when to pause, reading light, tide, and cloud as practical information. What stays with you is the bay's tight horseshoe of pale sand, held between dark cliffs, with clear, shallow water that shifts from green to turquoise as the sun breaks through. Marlin Head sits at the top of the Inishowen Peninsula, where fields give way to open water, and the weather can change between one bend in the road and the next. In Malin Head, County Donegal, Ireland, daily life is shaped by wind, salt air, and a long view. Homes and farmyards are tucked behind low walls, with hedges and stone breaking the gusts that sweep in from the Atlantic. Sheep graze close to the cliffs, and grass stays bright even when the sky turns the color of slate. Peat brown bogland lies inland, a patchwork of wet ground, heather, and narrow tracks used for generations. In spring and summer, roadside verges carry gorse and wildflowers, and the scent of the sea drifts through it all. Work here still follows the practical rhythm of rural Donegal, tending animals, repairing fences, watching forecasts, and keeping an eye on the tides. Even errands can feel like a weather report, measured in visibility and wind direction. Along the coast, fishing and boating depend on calm windows, while walkers pause at lookout points near the old signal station. Conversations are unhurried, often starting with the state of the sea. What stays with you most is the bare grey rock of Banba's crown, worn smooth in places and rough in others, as waves keep a steady, cold hiss below. Dunquin Pier sits at the edge of the Dingle Peninsula, where the land gives way to the Atlantic in a few steep steps. In Dunquin Pier, County Kerry, Ireland, the day often begins with wind on the cliff road and salt on the air. Down at the waterline, small boats are timed to tides and swells, not clocks. Fish boxes, ropes, and fuel cans tell you this is still a working slip, even when cameras pause for the view. Above the pier, fields are divided by stone walls and thick hedges that break the wind and hold the soil. Sheep graze the short grass, and homes are built to face weather that can shift from clear to mist in minutes. Life here stays local in practical ways. Neighbours share news at the post office, and Irish is heard alongside English in everyday conversation. In nearby Dingle, markets and harbours connect the peninsula to the rest of County Kerry without smoothing out its edges. Visitors come for the blasket view and the footpaths, but residents watch the sea for more than scenery. They read the colour of the water, the angle of waves, and the sudden quiet that can mean a squall. What lingers at Duncan is the narrow, zigzagging concrete descent, stitched into the cliff like a pale seam, leading straight down to the small pier. Kinsale sits where green hills ease down toward a sheltered inlet on Ireland's southern coast, and daily life follows the weather's soft changes. Fishing boats, walkers, and commuters share the same narrow routes to the water. In Kinsale, County Cork, Ireland, Homes cluster along sloping streets, painted in bright colors that stand up well to frequent mist. People step out between showers, timing errands with the light and the tide. Outside town, small fields are stitched together by hedgerows of hawthorn and fuchsia, dense with birds and summer insects. Many families keep tidy gardens, using windbreaks and stone walls to protect tender plants. The sea shapes local work in practical ways: seafood landings at the quayside, boat repairs, sailing lessons, and seasonal hospitality. Menus change with what comes ashore, and conversations often begin with swell and wind. Footpaths loop above the harbour, giving residents an everyday view of moving water and shifting clouds. Even short walks feel restorative here, thanks to mild temperatures and constant ocean air. Old fortifications and quiet coves sit close to modern marinas, so the past never feels far away. Weekends bring families to the shoreline, watching cormorants and small craft in the channel. What stays most distinctive is Kinsale's broad, protected harbour, a slow-curving sheet of water that gathers boats gently and reflects the town's colours in calm weather. Ring of Kerry curves along Ireland's southwest, where mountains, bog, and sea sit close enough to shape daily routines. The road's steady loop links small towns, farms, and harbours without hurrying them. In Ring of Kerry, County Kerry, Ireland, the weather is a working schedule of its own. Bright intervals, fast showers, and wind off the Atlantic. Homes tucked behind hedges and stone boundaries, with turf sheds and rain gear as ordinary as kitchen tables. On the slopes near Mole's Gap and the McGillycuddy's reeks, sheep graze rough pasture that won't take a plough. Farmers watch grass growth, not calendars, and move animals as the ground firms or softens underfoot. Along Lough Lean and the inlets near Keem Bay, water brings both livelihood and restraint, and seaweed lines the shore after storms, and boats wait for tides that can change plans in a single hour. What stays most distinctive here is the web of low, dry stone walls, stitching small green fields into the hills and holding their shape against constant salt wind. Wild Atlantic Way traces Ireland's western shoreline, where rain-fed greens meet the hard edge of the Atlantic. In Wild Atlantic Way, West Coast, Ireland, daily life stays closely tied to wind, water, and stone. Across counties like Clare, Kerry, Galway, and Donegal, homes sit low behind hedgerows with slate roofs and thick walls built for weather that changes by the hour. Small villages cluster around a shop, a school, and a harbour road that still feels like a shared front porch. Farming here is often a patchwork: sheep on rough hills, cattle on wetter flats, and narrow fields divided by dry stone walls that hold heat and shelter. Where soil is thin, gardeners and growers work patiently, using seaweed and compost to keep beds productive. Fishing towns watch tides as carefully as clocks, planning around safe crossings and workable seas. Even on calm days, people talk in weather, cloud height, wind direction, and the kind of rain that comes sideways. Many households now balance older habits with newer needs, keeping peatlands protected, improving insulation, and turning to local renewables when the grid feels far away. Community life remains practical, shaped by distance, neighbors, and dependable routines. Most distinctive of all is the continuous line of sea cliffs and rock shelves where salt spray drifts inland and the Atlantic's long swells set the rhythm of the coast. Connemara National Park sits at the edge of Ireland's Atlantic weather, where mountains, bog, and heaths meet in a compact sweep of open ground. In Connemara National Park, County Galway, Ireland, daily life is measured by wind direction and the colour of the sky. Families in nearby villages keep routines flexible, slipping outdoor work between passing showers and brighter intervals. Even errands are timed to daylight, because roads can feel narrow and remote once fog settles. On the park paths, walkers and local guides share the same practical habits: layered clothing, steady pacing, and a quiet respect for slippery stone. A short climb can cross from dry grass to wet peat in a few minutes. Sheep farming and small holdings shape the wider Connemara landscape, with field walls and gates set to manage grazing on poor, thin soils. The park itself protects fragile habitats, so the working countryside and the wild core sit side by side. Visitors often head for Diamond Hill, where the views open toward inlets and islands along the Galway coast. The return brings a different kind of attention, focused on footing and the sudden hush between gusts. In the evenings, the park's influence lingers in local talk about trail conditions, lambing, and whether the bog will be firm enough after a week of rain. It's a landscape that encourages modest plans and careful choices. Most distinctive of all is the blanket bog, dark peat underfoot, stitched with amber pools that catch brief light and then fade back into the muted greens and browns of Connemara. Kylemore Abbey sits quietly beside a dark Connemara lake, where rain and evergreens shape the day's light. Set in Kylemore Abbey, County Galway, Ireland, it feels closely tied to the working landscapes around it. Beyond the stone walls, small farms patch the valleys with grazing fields, bog, and rough pasture. Locals read the weather in shifting cloud and wind, timing hay, fencing, and sheep checks to the brief clear spells. The abbey itself holds layers of Irish history, estate life, loss, and renewal, now carried forward by a Benedictine community. Their routines are steady and practical, balancing prayer with the everyday needs of a place that welcomes visitors. Nearby, the Victorian walled garden shows another side of green living, measured in soil, seedlings, and shelter from Atlantic gusts. Glass houses and kitchen plots turn short summers into harvest, and seasonal work here still follows light and frost. Most evenings, the abbey's most distinctive feature is simple: its pale stone facade, held almost perfectly in the still surface of Loch Pollock. Slieve cliffs sit along the Atlantic edge of County Donegal, where stone, grass, and wind share the same horizon. On clear days, the light turns the slopes a muted green, and the sea a deep slate. In Slieve Cliffs, County Donegal, Ireland, daily life keeps pace with weather more than with clocks. Small roads weave between scattered homes, and neighbors measure distance by bends in the lane and shifts in the sky. Sheep graze close to the clifftop fields, trimming the rough pasture into a living patchwork. Farmers work with low fences and steady routines, knowing a sudden squall can change the plan for the afternoon. Walkers arrive with flasks and layered jackets, drawn to the footpaths that thread through heather and rock. Many come looking for unseen places, and they find them in quiet coves and empty viewpoints between passing showers. In nearby villages, conversation often circles back to sea conditions, ferrying, and the next stretch of dry ground. Even a brief break in the clouds can send people out to tend animals, check walls, or simply look west. What stays with you is the sheer vertical face of dark Donegal rock, dropping straight into the Atlantic below. Dingle Peninsula sits at Ireland's western edge, where rain and salt air keep the hills a steady green through much of the year. Sea light shifts quickly, and the land looks newly washed, even after a hard morning. In Dingle Peninsula, County Kerry, Ireland, daily life still follows the shape of small fields and narrow roads. Many families balance sheep and cattle with seasonal work in town, adjusting routines to weather that changes by the hour. Hedgerows and pockets of woodland shelter birds, while rough grazing supports hardy breeds on higher ground. In lower pastures, farmers manage grass carefully, letting it recover between grazings so the soil stays dark and springy underfoot. Along the coast, fishing and seaweed gathering connect kitchens to the tide, and harbors set the rhythm for early starts. Even inland, the Atlantic is close. Wind carries the scent of kelp across the lanes. Walking routes and small guest houses bring visitors without needing massive development, and many homes keep a practical eye on energy and heat. The peninsula's green looks effortless, but it's maintained with steady local attention. Most distinctive are the dry stone walls, stitched across slopes in long, low lines, holding back grazing and guiding feet through the patchwork. In soft rain, those stones darken to near black, and the fields glow around them. Killarney National Park sits at the meeting point of water, woodland, and low mountains in Ireland's southwest. Just beyond the town of Killarney, daily life keeps close to quiet trails and working farms. In Killarney National Park, County Kerry, Ireland, people plan their routines around weather that can change by the hour. Rain is less an event than a companion, shaping thick moss, saturated fields, and the small decisions of when to cut turf or bring in animals. Old estates and new livelihoods overlap at places like Muckross, where gardens, stone walls, and footpaths draw walkers in every season. Local guides read the ground for visitors, tracks in soft soil, wind direction on the lake, and the sudden hush that comes when deer move through oak and yew. On this planet, the world's most dangerous roads get the headlines, but the lanes here reward patience instead of speed. Cyclists, jaunting cars, and school traffic share narrow bends, and neighbors still wave because they often know who's coming before they see the vehicle. The park's economy is built on steadiness, hospitality, craft, small-scale farming, and year-round outdoor work. Even recreation feels practical. Good boots, a reliable jacket, and an eye on the clouds over the ridgelines. Late in the day, the three lakes of Killarney hold the landscape in a single, dark mirror. Linked waters sliding between reeds and wooded shore. The surface goes almost still, and the park seems to breathe at lake level. Gap of Dunloe sits like a quiet corridor between mountains, where the air feels cooler and the light narrows with the road. In Gap of Dunloe, County Kerry, Ireland, daily life follows the pace of weather and stone. Small farms on the lower slopes keep sheep behind low walls, using rough grass that would be hard to turn into crops. Fences, gates, and footpaths are laid out with practicality, not decoration. Mornings often begin with mist off the lakes, and locals judge the day by what they can see of the ridgelines. When rain comes through, it comes softly, settling into the ground without hurry. The narrow road draws walkers, cyclists, and the occasional horse-drawn jaunting car, all sharing the same tight bends. Conversations are brief, usually about footing, timing, and where the wind is coming from. Water is never far away here, collected in dark pools and small falls that thread down from rock. Around the lakes, reeds and heather hold the edges together against constant damp. Evenings quiet down early when shadows stretch across the pass and sound carries farther than expected. A distant hoofbeat or a gate latch can feel like the only motion in the valley. What stays with you is the pinch point of the gap itself, where sheer, close-set rock walls tighten around the road and briefly turn the landscape into a stony, sheltered passage. Blarney Castle sits in a soft pocket of County Cork, where rain, mild air, and deep soils keep everything green for most of the year. The stone walls feel less like a monument and more like a neighbor to the woods. Around Blarney Castle, County Cork Island, daily life follows the weather. Waterproof jackets by the door, boots ready for muddy paths, and hedgerows trimmed back before they lean into lanes. Locals time errands and school runs between showers that pass as quickly as they arrive. Small farms and gardens nearby make practical use of the long growing season, with pasture that stays bright even in cooler months. You'll see windbreaks of trees, neatly kept stone boundaries, and fields that hold their color under low cloud. Within the castle grounds, broad lawns give way to shaded walks under oak and yew, and the river martin slips through darker, ferny corners. People come for a calm loop of paths as much as for history, listening to birdsong under dripping leaves. In Cork's countryside, green is not a backdrop, but a working surface. Grass for grazing, leaf cover for shelter, and wet ground that demands patience. Even the castle stones wear a thin skin of moss, where light and moisture meet. High on the battlements, the most distinctive detail is a single block of worn limestone set into the parapet, the Blarney Stone, smoothed by countless hands and steady rain. Cove sits on a south coast harbour where the air stays soft and the light changes quickly with passing showers. In Cove, County Cork, Ireland, daily life follows the waterline as much as the calendar, with ferries, small boats, and working quays shaping the pace. The landscape looks green because it's fed often, not forcefully. Fine rain, sea mist, and steady winds that keep lawns and hedgerows fresh. Even narrow streets make room for planters, window boxes, and pocket gardens. On the hills above the harbour, families step out to coastal paths where fuchsia and Montbrettia brighten stone walls, and gulls drift over the slopes. Old graveyards and small parks offer sheltered patches of grass that stay vivid well into autumn. Food and errands feel local and practical. Fish from the harbour, vegetables from nearby fields in County Cork, and bread carried home in reusable bags against the wind. When the weather turns, pubs and cafes become warm viewing points for the moving tide. Even the built environment leans into the climate with sturdy masonry, slate roofs, and gardens designed for wet soil and quick bursts of sun. The harbour's salt air leaves a trace on railings, benches, and windowsills. Mizzen Head sits at the far southwest edge of Ireland, where fields narrow into stone-walled lanes and the air carries salt across the grass. In Mizzen Head, County Cork, Ireland, daily life is shaped by wind forecasts and daylight, not by traffic, and neighbours still measure distance in minutes along bending roads. Small farms keep the landscape green through a patchwork of grazing, silage cuts, and careful hedgerow maintenance that shelters cattle and slows the weather. Rainwater runs quickly off rock into peat-dark streams, and many homes are built with practical buffers, porches, sheds, and drying lines placed where gusts won't steal the laundry. Fishing and seasonal work remain part of the local economy, while walkers come for cliff paths that pass old lookouts and low, resilient coastal shrubs. Evenings can be quiet here, with pub lights in nearby villages and the steady rhythm of the Atlantic beyond the last fence. What lingers most at Mizzen is the narrow footbridge spanning the cleft to the old signal station, a simple arc of metal and stone held over restless, white-edged water. Cork City sits along the River Lee, where green hills press close to streets of stone and brick. In Cork City, County Cork, Ireland, daily life often follows the weather. soft rain, quick sun, and long stretches of mild air. People walk to work past pocket gardens, churchyards, and small trees that seem to thrive in every crack of space. Even in busy neighborhoods, you're rarely far from a view of water or a strip of grass. At the English market, shoppers pick up local vegetables, cheeses, and fish, then carry them home on foot, by bike, or on the bus. Meals tend to reflect what grows well here: sturdy greens, potatoes, and herbs that don't mind damp soil. Along the marina and in Fitzgerald Park, joggers share paths with parents and dogs, all moving at an unhurried pace. On weekends, many families drift toward riverside benches, letting the city noise thin out under trees. Gardening has its own quiet presence, from backlot pots to allotment plots outside the center. Compost bins, rain barrels, and greenhouse tunnels show how residents work with a wet climate instead of fighting it. Some mornings, mist hangs low, and the Lee looks like brushed metal under the bridges. What stays most memorable is how the river splits into two channels through the city, turning ordinary commutes into short crossings over tidal water. Glenvar National Park sits in a broad, quiet valley of the Derryvear Mountains, where wind and rain have shaped open heath, peat, and stone. In Glenvar National Park, County Donegal, Ireland, daily life tends to follow the light. Early chores when the clouds lift, slower work when mist settles on the tracks. Sheep farming continues on the surrounding commons, and visitors share the narrow roads with trailers, hikers, and cyclists moving between small townlands. The landscape asks for practical footwear and an eye on sudden weather. Park staff manage footpaths, protect nesting birds, and restore native woodland, while local businesses in nearby villages keep seasons in mind: quiet winters, steady summers, and shoulder months that still feel like a Haida planet. The old estate heart remains visible at Glenveagh Castle, where walled gardens create a sheltered pocket of colour against rough hillside and bog. Even in cool air, the scent of damp earth and rhododendron carries. Most distinctive is Lough Veigh itself, a long, dark ribbon of water that holds the mountains in its surface, changing from slate to silver as clouds pass overhead. The dark hedges sits along a quiet country lane where beech trees meet the soft greens of County Antrim's farmland. Locals know it as a lived-in landscape, not just a photograph. In the dark hedges, County Antrim, Northern Ireland, morning often begins with damp air and hedgerows beaded with rain. Small fields nearby are edged by stone walls and wind-shaped trees that shelter livestock from sudden squalls. Life here follows the seasons more than the calendar. Silage cut on dry windows, drains cleared before winter, gates checked after heavy blows. Even in summer, the light can change in minutes, turning bright pastures into muted watercolor. Tour buses and day trippers bring needed trade to nearby villages, and residents adjust. Parking cones set out, cafes opening early, walking routes suggested to protect verges. The countryside economy blends farming with careful hospitality. Land stewardship is practical and constant, with trees inspected for safety and limbs trimmed to reduce storm damage. When lanes narrow, drivers pull in patiently because everyone understands the road is shared. Not far away, the Causeway Coast draws its own crowds, but the mood here stays more intimate. On quieter hours, you can hear crows, wind in leaves, and the steady hush of passing tires. What defines the place is the beech canopy itself, gnarled trunks on both sides of the road, their branches interlacing overhead to cast a long, cool tunnel of shade. Dublin sits on the edge of a wide bay, where rain and mild air keep the city's greens surprisingly vivid through much of the year. In Dublin, County Dublin, Ireland, daily life often follows the rhythm of water, parks, and wind. Along the River Liffey, commuters cross bridges on foot and by bike, passing pocket gardens and small squares where plane trees and lawns soften the streets. Even in busy neighborhoods, a few steps can lead to a sheltered strip of grass and birdsong. Phoenix Park offers a different scale. Broad meadows, long sightlines, and fallow deer moving quietly near cyclists and dog walkers. On weekends, families spread out under open sky, using the park like a shared backyard. The city's canals double as green corridors, their towpaths linking workplaces, row houses, and local shops. In allotment plots and back gardens, people grow herbs and hardy vegetables suited to cool summers and frequent showers. At the coast, Howth's paths and the Dublin Mountains' edges give residents quick access to heather, gorse, and sea air without leaving the county. On clear days, the horizon feels close enough to touch. And then there is Dublin Bay at low tide, North Bull Island's dunes and salt marshes with dark mudflats stretching out beneath a wide, changeable light. Aran National Park sits on a broad limestone plateau where grass and wildflowers find purchase in thin soils and sheltered cracks. In Aran National Park, County Clare, Ireland, daily life has long been shaped by rock, wind, and a careful use of pasture. Farm families still practice winter-age, moving cattle onto the upland in the colder months, when the limestone stays relatively dry and the grass remains accessible. Stone walls and low gates guide animals across ground that looks bare until you slow down and notice what's growing. Nearby communities like Ballyvaughan and Lisdoonvarna balance work in agriculture with guiding, hospitality, and small local businesses tied to walkers and cyclists. Footpaths thread past cairns, ring forts, and old field systems, where access depends on respect for grazing land and fragile plants. Spring brings an unusual mix of species. Orchids, gentians, and tiny ferns share space with hardy grasses, while hazel scrub gathers in the hollows. Residents watch the seasons closely because bloom times and nesting sites can shift with a wet week or a dry spell. Water behaves differently here, slipping through fissures to feed springs and temporary lakes called turloves. Homes and farms adapt with sheltered yards, dependable wells, and an appreciation for how quickly weather moves across the open plateau. In the quiet, the Burren's most distinctive feature is underfoot, pale limestone pavement, split into clints and grikes, holding whole miniature gardens in the cracks. Aran Islands sit at the mouth of Galway Bay, where the Atlantic air is never far from the shoreline. In Aran Islands, County Galway, Ireland, daily life follows the tempo of wind, tide, and the narrow windows of calm. Homes are built low against weather, and gardens are sheltered where they can be. People watch the forecast closely, timing ferry runs, hay cutting, and simple errands around sea conditions. Farming here is small-scale and practical, shaped by thin soils and salt-laced gusts. Seaweed gathered from the shore is still used to enrich fields, helping grass and potatoes take hold where the ground would otherwise stay bare. Fishing remains part of the local economy, alongside crafts and steady seasonal tourism. In pubs and kitchens, an Irish is heard as a living community language, not a performance, especially among families who have stayed for generations. Movement is measured. Bicycles, short drives, and walks across boreens connect neighbours more reliably than any distant timetable. When ferries arrive from Rossaveel in County Galway, supplies and visitors flow in, then quickly disperse into quiet lanes. What defines the Aran Islands most is the lacework of dry stone walls, laid directly over limestone, stitching countless small fields into a stark, enduring patchwork. Inishbofin Island sits off the Connemara coast, where Atlantic light shifts quickly across grass and stone. Inishbofin Island, County Galway, Ireland, keeps daily life tuned to weather, tide, and the next safe crossing. Most homes cluster near the small harbour, close enough for neighbours to share updates and lend a hand. Evenings can be quiet, with only the hum of a generator and the soft knock of halyards in the wind. A narrow network of lanes carries walkers, cyclists, and the occasional tractor between fields and cottages. Low stone walls hold back the salt air and mark grazing ground for sheep, a practical map made by hand. Food comes from mainland deliveries, small gardens, and what the sea allows on a calm day. When fishing boats return, conversation turns to currents, seabirds, and the larger forces shaping the planet beyond the horizon. Community life depends on timing: ferries, school runs, clinic visits, and a sudden change in swell. On stormier mornings, islanders settle into indoor work, mending gear and keeping an eye on the forecast. Walking the headlands, you pass old defensive earthworks and abandoned plots slowly softened by grass. The landscape feels open, but never empty. It's busy with wind, spray, and the movement of clouds. What lingers most here is the thin, sandy isthmus that links Inishboffin's east and west, a pale strip that narrows with each tide. Underfoot, grains shift and shine, quietly stitching two halves of the island together. Achill Island sits off Ireland's west coast, where the Atlantic sets the tempo of daily life. In Achill Island, County Mayo, Ireland, green hills and open water meet so closely that weather can change between one field and the next. Small farms still mark the landscape with stone walls, grazing sheep, and narrow lanes that bend around bog and rock. People time outdoor work to brief, clear spells, then turn indoors to mend gear, share tea, and listen for the next squall. Peatlands and heather hold moisture like a sponge, feeding streams that run quickly after rain. Walking routes and cycle roads connect villages, beaches, and headlands, so errands and visits often happen at a steady, unhurried pace. Along the shore, fishing and seaweed gathering have given way in many places to guest houses, cafes, and local guides. Even so, the sea remains practical. It shapes where homes sit, how windows face, and which days are safe for boats. Near the island's western edge, the Croaghound sea cliffs drop in long, clean faces straight to the Atlantic. In late light, their dark rock holds the day's warmth for a moment, while wind moves quickly over the rim. Adair sits where the River Meg slows and the land keeps its deep, wet green through much of the year. In Adair, County Limerick, Ireland, everyday life still follows the shape of water, fields, and tree cover. Along the riverbank, people walk under alder and ash, reading the weather by how the leaves move and how the light breaks through. Even short errands feel softened by shade and bird song. Beyond the village, small farms divide the countryside into neat rooms of pasture, stitched with hedgerows that block wind and shelter livestock. Grass is the main crop here, and it sets the pace for dairying and hay. The village centre stays compact, built for foot traffic and familiar faces. Mornings bring school runs and quiet shop fronts. and evenings settle into conversation over tea, soup, and local news. History isn't fenced off from daily routines. The ruins near Desmond Castle and the monastery grounds draw visitors, while residents pass them like landmarks that simply belong to the route home. Gardens are kept tidy, lanes are swept, and rain is accepted as a regular helper rather than a nuisance. When the light clears, the greens turn brighter, and the village looks freshly rinsed. Most distinctive of all are Ada's thatched cottages, their thick straw roofs laid low and even along the main street. Under that thatch, the village's calm, cultivated character feels most visible.